What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Flex. It's your boy once again, Craig, here for your fantasy football advice of the week. And, we're brought to you by Gym Bag Entertainment, and we're a sports show by guys that like sports shows. So stay tuned for much more content in the future. We got your back when it comes to sports. Right now, we're doing football and combat. But we have a lot more coming up for you in the future. With that being said, we're getting really close to draft day. So my biggest advice to you is always going to be do your research, do your research, do your research. Mock draft, mock draft, mock draft. Like, I'm telling you right now, I follow the ESPN and the Bleacher Report to make sure I'm getting my update alerts to know who's injured, who's traded, who's signing, who's holding out. All that good stuff. We also make it available to you through Gym Bag Entertainment. On Facebook, you have Gym Bag Entertainment. On Instagram, you have Gym Bag _ENT. And then, our Twitter and our website will be up and running with more content in the future. But you can definitely check those out for updates as well. So look out for all that stuff. And one of the other things I'm going to be doing is what I'm calling online exclusives, where you have to be on my social media accounts to kind of get extra added information, instant alerts about any player that gets injured as it happens, players to pick up on the waiver wire as soon as you should be picking them up. Also, I have at least one fantasy football draft, my main league. I will be recording that. I'm going to do a time lapse, maybe a little music and whatnot. It's going to be at Hooters. We're going to record it. We're going to put it on the website as long as Hooters gives us permission to do so. That will be an online exclusive. So you get to watch the draft. You get to see the last place person from last season drafted in a dress. It's going to be hilarious. And I invite you guys to come out and watch. It's going to be August 25th, which is a Sunday. It's going to be at Hooters. It's probably going to be at 7 p.m. I will give you 100% certainty on that exact time. But right now we're reaching for 7 p.m. And we invite anybody who wants to come and watch and see how a draft goes and see my team and myself draft and see how it gets done. So that's going to be some fun stuff for you coming up at the end of the month. Also, to let you know, we do have other shows coming up in the future. I have a show called Bring the Bars. It's going to be a show about hip-hop and hip-hop culture, fashion, and, all the latest trends going on. But we really want to focus on the music to kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking of. It's going to be a cross between Rhapsody's The Basement and The Breakfast Club. It's me, 3 other people, and we're just going to be bringing you hip-hop news and what's hot, what's not, but all from our personal perspective as we do here at Gym Bag Entertainment. And then we also have a show. It's going to focus on WWE. It will also probably focus on other wrestling promotions, some low-key wrestling promotions, and anything that happens locally. I have a couple guys in mind. We're in talks right now about figuring out how that's going to go, but it is on the way, and the title is to be determined. With that being said, there's not a whole lot I can tell you until the season starts, besides, a little bit of drafting advice. So what I thought I'd do today is give you my best mock draft, which coincidentally happened today. I decided to do a mock draft before the show because I try to do a mock draft every single day. And in this particular mock draft, I was drafting number 2 overall, and I decided, like I think I'm going to do no matter where I land, if I land in the top 3 and he's available, I am going after Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is the safest bet that you can draft in the top 3 picks. If you get number 1 or number 2, I am recommending Alvin Kamara. There's too much drama around the other 2 running backs in the top 2 position. Ezekiel Elliott, he's in the middle of a holdout. Granted, they're saying that they've offered all 3 of their top offensive positions, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, and Ezekiel Elliott, top 5 contracts in their position. So the offers have been put on the plate. Now it's up for the players to either accept them or maybe try to see if they can get a little bit more wiggle room. But with that being said, Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been to practice. He will hold out without a contract. And Jerry Jones has made it very clear that he's willing to play without Ezekiel Elliott. So with that being said, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about Ezekiel Elliott. And missing week 1 is still devastating in my opinion. You can't replace Ezekiel Elliott. So therefore, Alvin Kamara, he is good to go. He's ready to go. He's healthy. He's strong. And he is one of the best, if not sometimes the best back in the NFL. I know last year he was leading the league until Mark Ingram came in, and there is no Mark Ingram this year. So I like Alvin Kamara. And then when I went to the second round, I was thinking, maybe I should grab a wide receiver, and Odell Beckham was available. And I'm thinking to myself, Odell Beckham's available, but what is his touches going to look like? And even though this is a mock draft, you still have to draft the team as if you want it to be your team for the season. So I said, you know what, let's double up on them running backs. And I went with the likes of Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is going to be the star of this offense. AJ Green is probably going to miss a handful of weeks. You know, I say AJ Green misses at least 2 weeks this season, which dropped his ADP in all mock drafts as I've seen. So Joe Mixon seems like the prime candidate for a secondary running back, and I put him on my team. And then I followed it up picking a wide receiver I have not drafted all preseason. I've actually avoided this guy, but latest news has the coach Bruce Arians having a lot of confidence in Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston has been looking really good, and his receivers have been really receptive of him. So with that being said, Mike Evans did have a great year last year, and I'm hoping that he can repeat it again this year. So I went ahead and I drafted Mike Evans. So now I got a strong running back squad and potentially a high-level wide receiver 1. When it comes back around, I know I need to focus on wide receivers. And even though it's going to be a little shaky, I'm hoping that I'm going to get something good. And who falls in my lap but Stephon Diggs? Stephon Diggs can be wishy-washy at times, but when he puts up numbers, he generally puts up really good numbers. Him and Adam Thielen are one of the best wide receiver combos in the NFL right now. So therefore, I think that if Kirk Cousins can get his act together and they can play as a team, I think Stephon Diggs can give you some really good production throughout the season. And if you can draft a worthy wide receiver to swap out during unfavorable matchups, that will also help you along the season. So then it comes back around to me, and I'm looking at the players available. There's a couple other wide receivers I can grab, but what I'm thinking is I really need to bulk up on my running backs, because at the end of the day, like, running back position is the most important position in fantasy football. And I say that because of this. You know, wide receivers, you know, once you get past the top like 20 wide receivers, they're a dime a dozen. You never know who's going to do good and when they're going to do good. Quarterbacks are always going to be good. You're going to have, if you don't have a quality starter and a quality backup quarterback, you made a real bad judgment in your drafting. Quarterbacks are absolutely a dime a dozen. You can wait until after round 10 to draft your first quarterback, which I believe I actually did, and still come out with high quality quarterbacks. You don't need Patrick Mahomes. You don't need Drew Brees. You don't need Cam Newton. You know, you don't need these guys who are the big all-star quarterbacks. You don't need them. So therefore, but running backs, once you get past the top 20 running backs, it is really hard to guarantee yourself quality, like double digits every week quality. So I'm thinking, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to grab myself a nice running back, and Mark Ingram was available. Now, Mark Ingram has some downside to him, but then a whole lot of upside. We saw what he was capable of in New Orleans. Now he's going to be the lead back in Baltimore. Yes, they have a running quarterback, but they still have to run the ball to make people afraid of Lamar Jackson. So therefore, I think that Mark Ingram in the 5th round is a great addition to your squad. So now I need another wide receiver. And once again, I went with a wide receiver that I haven't normally been drafting, and it's actually even a higher risk for me because he's on a team of the same guy I don't usually draft, and that is Chris Godwin. I went after Chris Godwin because he's been getting a lot of hype, a lot of favor around his name, and I'm thinking Stefon Diggs on a bye week. I have Godwin and Mike Evans in at the same time, and hopefully they're going up against a soft defense and just get a tandem of passes and touchdowns from the same person. And if I'm feeling a little bit risky, I want to roll the dice. Maybe I even pick up Jameis Winston off the waiver wire and play the triple combo and hope that they have an epic game, just for the fun of it. But I do like Chris Godwin. I like the news that I've been hearing about him. He did have a decent build to his season last year, and hopefully he can build on that with the fact that Adam Humphries is gone and Deshaun Jackson is gone, making him the number 2 wide receiver. So when Mike Evans gets double coverage, Chris Godwin is going to be open. Next on the list is I'm thinking, all right, now it's time. I got to get myself the best tight end available so that way I'm not slacking in the tight end position. Weirdly enough, this guy has been dropping in the ADP, and I don't really understand why. He is on one of the best offenses in the NFL with arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's Jared Cook, getting signed by the New Orleans Saints. I don't know why his ADP is dropping. It's very weird to me, but ADPs, just so you know, it's not like some like football gurus that drop people's ADPs. It's actually us. We determine every player's ADP. Wherever you draft these guys is where they start to fall. So if Jared Cook gets waited on, then his ADP drops. If Joe Mixon starts getting drafted sooner, his ADP goes up. We determine it. We as the fans, we as the fantasy football fans who are doing mock drafts, we determine ADPs. If we collectively decided that Saquon Barkley isn't worth drafting until the second round and nobody was drafting him in the first round anymore and waited until the second, he would literally drop. Probably late first round, because at this point we're not going to get enough drafts in to drop him. But it is definitely something that would happen. He would absolutely drop. So next on the list, once again, I'm really needing that running back position to be as strong as possible on my team to back up for bye weeks and potential matchup problems. So I was looking at best available, and the best available running back to me was Kenyon Drake. Now, I don't necessarily love this pick, but Kenyon Drake does show flashes of light. So my hope is the day I have to put him in, I roll the dice and Kenyon Drake comes up 7s. You know what I'm saying? He puts up double digits. He gets me a touchdown or 2, and I have a good week because of it. And that's the risk you take, When you get down to your 4th running back, you're not getting high quality, and that's just normally just a fact. You got Kenyon Drake, Lamar Miller, any running back from the 49ers. You got a lot of low caliber guys, and Kenyon Drake just happens to be one of the best. Then I followed it up. I'm like, all right, I only got 3 wide receivers. I need someone else. And lo and behold, it's what round? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's round 9. So this was a huge surprise to me. Who pops up on the list is AJ Green. I am surprised that he falls this far based on the news of his injury. This is an extremely far drop for the likes of AJ Green, especially since there's no guarantee on how many games he can miss. It could be 1 game, it could be 6 games, I don't know. But in the 9th round, unless he's going to miss 10 games, AJ Green is an absolute steal at this point. And hypothetically speaking, if he only misses 1 game, now I have AJ Green and Mike Evans as my number 1 and number 2. Like, my team's bossing up. AJ Green is an animal, and as long as he can stay healthy, then that's good. And if he doesn't stay healthy, I wasted a 9th round pick on him. And that right there is worth taking the risk on, I've seen people take risks on Josh Gordon in the 9th round, not even knowing if he was going to play, and then he didn't play. And you wasted a 9th round pick on him, So who's to say what's what? But I went with AJ Green. So now I've got myself 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a tight end, top tier. So now I'm like, well, I think it's time to grab myself the quarterback. And who's available, best available, but Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield at round 10 is highway robbery to fantasy football. Like, do you not understand who he has to throw the ball to? He's got Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Callaway, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson, and then in week 10, Kareem Hunt. So therefore, he has a plethora of weapons. So many weapons to throw the ball to that he could close his eyes, throw the ball up in the air, and he would probably complete a pass. So I had to grab him. Got to have Baker Mayfield as my number one quarterback. So I really love this decision. There's no pressure for Baker Mayfield. He came onto the worst team in the league, and he's already won games. He just one win short from making the playoffs. He can only go up from here. Even if he doesn't have a great season, it doesn't really affect him that much. He was on the worst team in the league, and now the sky is the limit for this guy. And he's playing on a team with players who are out there to have fun and enjoy the game, and that spells trouble for all defenses. And then I figured, you know what? Why not just double up? Grab two. So who's available? Carson Wentz. And it's the same situation. He just has so many weapons. He's got Alshon Jeffrey. He's got Zach Ertz. He has Nelson Aguilar, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Corey Clement. And then Jordan Howard comes in as the running back. This is a loaded offense. Loaded. And Carson Wentz is an incredible quarterback. They didn't pay this dude all that money, $128 million for 4 years, because he's a slouch. Carson Wentz is one of the future greats in the NFL, and he has all the weapons he can need to succeed, plus a strong defense to continuously get his offense back on the field. So now I have two high-level young quarterbacks, young, strong, healthy quarterbacks playing on my team. So now I'm thinking, all right, most of my team is completely put together, but what I don't have is defense. So boom, I'm looking at the list. I crack open the defensive roster, and this was actually a huge surprise to me. Do not expect to get either one of these defenses this late unless you're in a very talented drafting league. Most leagues start drafting their defenses, especially the top 8 defenses get drafted in the 10th and 11th round. And we're looking at 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm in the 12th round grabbing a defense. Usually the top tier defenses are gone, but who's available but the LA Chargers? LA Chargers could potentially have the best defense in the NFL this year. That's no joke. They could have the best defense in the NFL. So I was super excited to see that they were available. I thought I was going to end up with the Patriots or Cleveland or the Saints by the time I got down to here. But they were available, and I was excited. So boom, snatched them up. Now I got one of the best defenses in the NFL and a pretty high caliber team to back them up. And then I was looking on the waiver and right before I'm about to make my next pick, because it's coming right back around to me, and I'm looking at what's there in the defense, and the Houston defense is there. And we all know Houston has one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, right? So I'm like, you know what? Let's just grab two defenses, and then after the bye week, whichever defense is doing less than the other, whichever one's the best, I keep. The other one, I try to trade for a low-level wide receiver, low-level tight end, some position that I want. Maybe package the defense with a running back to get a better running back, whatever the case may be. I told you that before, earlier in the year. You sometimes need to draft combo players or combo pieces that are of good value, but can be traded with another piece for greater value. And that's what I feel like I'm getting with Houston. Is I'm going to hold on to Houston. I'm going to use them on my bye week, and then I'm going to package them with the likes of, say, Chris Godwin, and maybe grab a better wide receiver. I don't know what I'm going to get, but it's worth trying and see what happens. So now I've got my entire team put together, every position except for one, and that's my kicker. So now who's available? And actually, Michael Bagley from the Chargers is actually available. Now, it's not necessarily a smart idea to draft a defense and a kicker from the same team. But what I like to do is every once in a while, when you have that bye week coming up, you kind of make a deal with another manager. Hey, I'll throw you this player for your kicker this week. And then trade it back to you for that my player back later on. And then when you need something, I see that your quarterback, you don't have a backup quarterback, I'll throw you my backup quarterback on your bye week. There's always deals like that can be made when you're in a tough situation like that. And maybe you trade the Chargers defense, you say, all right, I'm going to play Texans this week. I'll trade the Chargers defense for a kicker, whatever the case may be. All right. So now that I have that, I've got my kicker, I got all my pieces, I got 2 bench spots left. I definitely want to grab myself another wide receiver. And when I'm looking at the board, the one guy I always want to try to get at the very end of my draft, every draft I do, is N'Keal Harry. I definitely waited out till the end because you don't know what you're going to get from him. Even though I believe he's going to be a plus 1,000-yard wide receiver, it's not always guaranteed. So with that being said, though, he is available. It's the 15th round. I'm going to snatch him right up out the air and say, now I got N'Keal Harry on my team. And if he starts building up, maybe he ends up being a really great flex position. And then finally, my last pick, I definitely need a backup tight end. And I'm telling you right now, after you get your first tight end, unless you're getting tight ends really early, there's about 5 tight ends that you can get at the end of the rounds, the likes of Kyle Rudolph, Greg Olsen, Jimmy Graham. Those guys are really just staying on the board till the end. Some of them are remaining on the waiver wire. Chris Herndon being one of them because he's getting a 4-game suspension. But guess what? You don't need him the first 4 games because you got Jared Cook. So that's not really a problem. And Chris Herndon was looking excellent last year. So I expect his production to only climb. So let's take a look at this team real quick as you would see it on your fantasy draft team. So for my number 1 quarterback, I'm going to throw it as Baker Mayfield. I'm going to start Baker Mayfield beginning of the season because he's going to want to step out there. He's going to want to show out. And that's going to look good for me. Then I got Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon as my number 1 and my number 2 running back. Then I got Mike Evans and Stephon Diggs as my number 1 and number 2 wide receiver. And in my league, we do 3, so I got to throw Chris Godwin in there. Then when you hit the tight end position, I got Jared Cook, who's now on the Saints and is only going to do better than he did in Oakland. He should only do better. I would be really surprised if Jared Cook had a bad year. Now I go to my flex position, and who am I going to put in? None other than Mark Ingram, looking like a boss. I have a strong feeling that people are going to sleep on Mark Ingram, and Mark Ingram is top 10 to top 15 running back this season. So we'll see what happens, though, but it is looking exciting. Then you have my kicker, Mike Badgley, and my defense. I'm going to start off right with the LA Chargers. And then you got my bench, and on my bench I have AJ Green, I have Carson Wentz, I got Houston's defense, N'Keal Harry, Chris Herndon, and Kenyon Drake. So my defense is looking pretty strong. My bench is looking pretty strong. So collectively as a whole, got a really strong team for you. And like I said, Yahoo Fantasy rated this team as an A+ team. So if you got the number 2 pick, see if you can follow my draft picks and give yourself one of the best teams in your league. With that being said, I just want to let you know that on top of fantasy advice, I will be giving the DraftKings picks of the week. I will be doing it on my show. There's a possibility I will also be giving those picks on McCullough's show, my segment, No Huddle, if that continues on. And like I said, check out the online exclusives for not only fantasy football and regular football, but also combat sports, such as UFC, One Championship, Bellator, and Bare Knuckle. And then also, I'll be giving you every week, as always, starts and sits. Who you should be riding out, who should be throwing on the bench, who's available on the waiver wire. All those things will be ready for you. So make sure you're checking us out every week. And once again, check out our social media. Facebook is Gymbag Entertainment. Social media is Gymbag_ENT. Twitter, hashtag GymENT. And once it's up and running, I'm sorry it's been taking so long, but GymBagEntertainment.com is on its way. I promise this is not a lie. It is definitely coming. And look out for our new shows coming soon. We have our wrestling show focused on WWE. Name is to be determined. And then we have our hip-hop show coming out in the early October called Bring the Bars. So until then, my name is Craig. This is The Flex. Check me out Wednesday nights at 9. Check out The End Zone Thursday nights at 9. And check out Tale of the Tape Fridays and Saturdays at, I believe, 6 or 7 o'clock. Not 100% sure on the time. But you can always check us out on YouTube, and that's Gymbag Entertainment. So until then, have a great night.